Chapter 26. Crespi pointed to the farthest corner of the sealed tunnel, his hand a vague pale shape in the darkness. Over there. McGinnis looked, could see nothing except shadows, littered with camera lights. After a moment she made out a faint glow from just above where he'd pointed, and rungs bolted into the wall. Together they backed to the wall opposite the clawing drone, inched closer to the ladder, just out of the creature's grasping reach. McGinnis struggled to keep her panic down, tried not to think about what Church could do with one finger, one switch to the harness release. They made it past, the drone screaming almost hysterically. It was probably starving, rabid to get loose, to tear into fresh meat. She buried the thought quickly. To their left, she could now make out another door, sealed. Up was the only way. Crespi kept his eye on the frantic drone, motioned for her to go first. McGinnis grabbed the highest rung she could manage and started to climb. Up, and slowly up, the ladder seemed eternal. The faint light she'd noticed only a shade brighter. She was glad to be away from that hissing, shrieking darkness, but at least the drone there had been harnessed. She could be climbing into a crouching nest of them, waiting, drooling. A sudden stab of memory from her childhood, hide and seek with some forgotten playmate in an abandoned house, she the seeker. At each corner, seething with unknown shadow, a deep breath, heart pounding, the knowledge strong in her young mind that any second would come the surprise. "See anything?" His shout was hoarse, and not as far below her as she had imagined, maybe 10 meters. She looked up, checked her progress for the billionth time. The ceiling of blackness was just still overhead. "It's too dark." Quiet below, the drone gone back to its low hissing. Another step. Another, her hands clammy with sweat. Another. She glanced up again. The source of light was definitely closer now. She could see where the rungs ended, an opening not far away. A way out. Thank God. Thank God. She called down to him excitedly. "I think I see something. There's light. It's—" A sudden shadow, and she jerked her head up, knew that the hidden threat had made its move. The alien screamed in her face. A glob of spittle smacked her chin. Its claw darted forward and grabbed her. Crespi heard it, heard her scream in response. He jumped to the rungs, scrambled up after her. "Sharon! Go back! Go back!" He looked up, saw that it had a hold of her by one shoulder. Her grip on the ladder was gone, and she kicked frantically in the air, trying to get loose. A sound like ripping cloth, and she dropped 1/2 meter, the drone screaming wildly. She hung by just her overshirt now. Why didn't it put her up? The material giving rapidly. Crespi dropped back to the floor, ready to catch her, at least ease the impact. Another scream, much closer. He spun, frantic, as a small, dim light glowed to life in the chamber, illuminating the harnessed drone. And a click, somehow audible amid the screams, somehow incredibly loud, as he realized what it meant. Church had unleashed the alien. McGinnis screamed for Crespi to go back. If the alien let go, she'd knock him off the ladder. The pain was sharp. The dirty claws of the alien's hand dug deeply into her flesh of her left shoulder. It cluttered madly, tried to lift her, and couldn't. She felt the tremble of its weakened body, realized that it wasn't strong enough. McGinnis began to flail, kicking, tried to bounce loose. She felt her flesh give way first, long tears in her shoulder, as the creature's grasp was jolted free. It clutched, shrieking, and she fell. But it still had her, its long fingers enmeshed in the strap of her overshirt. The harness drone below seemed to scream in response, and a sudden dull light filtered up to her. She saw the blood running across her skin, soaking the tattered cloth, warming her breast. "Let go!" A final bouncing jump, and the shirt gave. the drone howling furiously as she fell, curled her arms over her head. "Bend your knees." She hit the floor, hard, felt one ankle give, pain shooting through her lower leg. But she had landed in a half crouch and found she could stand. Looked around, the corridor almost brilliantly lit after the dark climb, saw Crespi, and in front of him, the drone, loose. She ignored the pain, limped quickly to his side. There was nowhere else to go. The drone was bent down, hissing, but not moving any closer. "Church's conditioning," Crespi whispered tightly, and it clicked. The experiments had weakened them. It was why the drone at the ladder couldn't lift her. And this one was waiting, knew that it would be shocked before it could attack, was looking for the fastest way to get to them. They had a chance. Behind her and above, she heard the hissing of the thwarted drone, descending the metal rungs or maybe just preparing to leap. Movement behind her. She turned, panicked, heard the quieter hiss as the door slid open, revealing another dark chamber. "The door!" Crespi turned, saw the opening, didn't hesitate. He grabbed her, twisted, and pushed as hard as he could. "Move!" She flew, stumbling, into the corridor, landed on the floor. She jumped to her feet and turned. The harnessed drone was joined by the other, the two of them about to lunge for Crespi, for the door. He ran, leapt as the entry started to slide closed, fell through the narrowing gap, the creatures right behind. She saw, could do nothing to stop it. One black talon darted forward, hit Crespi solidly, raked down, and then was gone, the chamber sealed. There was blood everywhere.